boring or exciting, interesting, or I don't want to talk to you because you've got nothing to say. When you have to have conversations with people, or if you want to have conversations with people, so you've got a hot date or an interview or you're going to a social event, how do you know that your conversation is going to be interesting? How do you become an interesting conversationalist, if that's important to you? And if you have to meet what some people would call important people, do you need to talk differently or act differently than if you are just with normal people? And I find that question almost disrespectful, because I think everybody's important. And one of the things I love doing when I go to a social event is I love talking to the people who are doing the cleaning, or the people who carry the suitcases into a hotel, or the people who pour the drinks, or the wait staff. I think everybody's as important as everybody else. So how do you communicate effectively with everybody? And it's the reason I'm asking the question, well, there's two reasons. One is that people often ask me, Rowie, you talk to all different kinds of people and you seem really comfortable doing it. And a lot of people share with me the second part is that they don't want to go to a social event, or they're scared of meeting a famous person, or they're scared of talking to the bank manager or an accountant, or they're scared of talking to people who are potential clients because they don't have good conversational skills. So I'm very privileged that, because communication is obviously a really important part of everybody's lives, whether you're communicating with yourself, your partner, your family, your kids, the people you work with, the people you play sport with, we all have to communicate with somebody at some stage, especially ourselves. We have to communicate with our own brain every single day. So communication skills are obviously really important. As an exercise professional, for me, it's been the most important part, because learning anatomy and physiology so that you can help people get fit and strong, that's, I think, exciting and easy, because when you're excited about something, it's easy to learn about it. But how can I give somebody a safe, effective exercise plan if I can't communicate with the person effectively? So communication is a big, wild topic that there's lots of argument about and a lot of people talk about. Isn't that interesting? But what if it was really simple? What about this first concept, which is it's not about being interesting, you as a person being interesting, it's about being interested in the person that you are communicating with. We get a bit caught up in communication about ourselves, don't we? What if they don't like me? What if I don't say the right thing? What if I forget what I'm supposed to say? How do I communicate effectively? But ultimately, it's not about what I do. It's about my interest in the other person. And how does the other person know that I'm interested in them? Surely that's about asking questions. So then, if anybody I meet, if it's not about me trying to be interesting and telling funny stories and make interesting conversation, if it's always about the other person, so I ask questions about them so that they know that I'm interested in them, because how else would they know that if I don't ask questions, then surely that process becomes really simple with everybody. Whether you're talking to a famous sports star or a billionaire or a celebrity, or a cleaning person, or the person at the supermarket, or your children, or yourself. Surely it's about asking questions. And that's one of the beautiful things about personal communication. I always ask myself questions. How can I get stronger? What do I have to do to get fitter? What do I have to do to be more disciplined? What do I have to do to be a better communicator? See, they're all questions that I ask myself. And the beautiful thing about the human brain is when you ask it a question, it will look for the answer. Which is why when you're in conversation with somebody else, if you ask them a question, they will look for an answer. We've been taught since we were taught how to talk that if somebody asks you a question, it would be disrespectful or rude not to answer the question. So if you ask the questions, then the person that you're asking questions of are, by natural communication brain space, they're going to answer your question. But if you're asking the questions, it means you don't have to talk about yourself. It's never about you, it's always about the other person. And there's another part of that that's really great to know, is that human nature is that we are basically selfish. And that's not a bad thing, that's just human nature. People want to talk about themselves. Even if they're shy, and even if they're an introvert, and even if they think that you might not be interested in them, if you show that you are interested, and that's the important part of body language when you ask a question, is to lean forward, maintain eye contact, open body language, and actively listen. And I promise, because I've been doing this for a very long time, that if you do that, if you ask interesting questions, then lean forward, maintain eye contact, open body language, and actively listen, then people will talk. Now, whether that's an elite athlete or a billionaire or a cleaning person or a person at the supermarket, and at our house, we always joke about this because when I go out, I get caught up all the time. And that's an exciting caught up because everybody I come in contact with, I ask questions. And there's two reasons for that. One, if I talk about myself, I'm talking about stuff that I already know. Two, people aren't interested in me, they're interested in themselves. And if I want to learn stuff, if I want to expand my brain, if I want to learn more about things that I don't know anything about, other people, other things, other experiences, other places, then I have to ask questions. So I will often get stuck at the supermarket checkout or at the petrol station or in a retail store because tell me about you. And that is the magic question. Tell me about you. Then lean forward, maintain eye contact, actively listen, and just appreciate the fact that people will start talking. Now, some people might say, what do you want to know? Or why have you asked me the question? And I'm very happy to share because I'm interested. I want to know about that. I want to know why you believe that. I want to know why you've got an opinion or conviction about that. Why is that important to you? That's another one of my favourite questions in conversation. Why is that important to you? So this is a across-the-board tip for superb communication. Works incredibly effectively if you're on a hot date, if you're at a career or job interview, if you're meeting somebody that you don't know and you are nervous. It's simply, tell me about you, tell me what's important to you, tell me why you're doing what you're doing at the moment. So if you meet the owner of a business, for example, and you ask the question, tell me about you, you've got this great business, how did it come about? Then lean forward, maintain eye contact and actively listen. I think you'll be very surprised that people will start talking. Now, the reverse of that in superb communication, we only have, and I share this regularly, you and I both have the same amount of time, 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, 365 days in a year. We have limited time. I hate wasting time, and I think that small talk, silly talk, talking about stuff that isn't important, is one of the biggest wastes of time. So people will say, hi, how are you, and how's the weather? Well, first of all, and I'll cover off the weather first, I hate talking about the weather because I have no control over it. It's not important because I have no control over it. And yes, it seems to be that we've got into the habit of talking about the weather. The other thing we talk about is, how are you today? Well, it's a normal question, but do people really care how you are today? And if you tell them, I'm sick, I'm tired, I've got a sore foot, I've got a headache, I've got a stressful job, my kids are giving me a hard time, which is the boring, really boring conversations that people seem to have, we wouldn't call that superb communication, would we? Hi, how are you today? Not too bad, but I've got a sore foot, I've got a headache, my life is really stressful. Doesn't add any value to people's lives. So the second part of communication, first part is, don't try to be interesting, be interested in other people. And the second part is, are we aiming to add value or devalue? Do you want to make people feel good that they came in contact with you, feel happier, more excited, have laughed because they've kind of become in contact with you? Or do you want them to walk away thinking she was boring, she was negative, she whinge, moaned and complained? So before you open your mouth to talk, and this is the question that I always ask myself, superb communication, ask yourself great questions. Is what I'm about to say going to add value to somebody's life, or is it going to detract value? Is it positive or negative? Is it optimistic or pessimistic? And if you analyse conversations, and I do this all the time because I'm a bit of an eavesdropper, when I hear other people talking, I have a bit of a listen. Because I study human behaviour, that's the main reason I do it. But why do people say stuff? Why do you say it's raining today? It's obviously raining. If you add to that, I wish it wasn't raining today, now you're kind of making yourself out to be an idiot, aren't you? Because you can't control it. You can wish for it to not be raining, but that would be silly because you can't control the weather. So what if we become really conscious about our communication? Am I adding value? Will this person believe that I'm interested in them, and how will they know that if I'm not asking questions? And then if you go into a conversation, you just do all the talking. What makes anybody think that what you've got to say, what I've got to say, is going to be interesting to the other person? Because the third part is, why am I opening my mouth? But the story that I'm telling or the information that I'm giving, how do I know it's going to add value to the person's life? Because I might not have asked any questions. Why am I talking? Why would I think that somebody wants my opinion on religion or political persuasion or medical interventions or the way to bring up a child, I often have to get stuck in conversations like that. I don't have any children, and people start ranting and raving about how you should bring up children. But they don't even know that I haven't got any children. They just assume that I have because I'm an old lady, and they start talking about parenting. Well, that's my third point, is never assume. Never assume that you're talking to somebody who isn't very intelligent and might have more intelligence about a topic than you have. Because you could make an absolute fool of yourself, yeah? Doesn't matter what conversation you're in. If you start talking about anatomy, physiology, parenting, money, how to build a house, how to do a garden, the person that you're talking to, if you haven't asked the right questions, you don't know that they're not better than that at you. They could be world champion gardener, and you start talking about gardening as if you know everything. They know way more than you do, and you just end up making a real fool of yourself. And that's what a lot of people are scared of, isn't it? What if I make a fool of myself in conversation? What if I'm boring? What if the person doesn't like me? Well, if you are genuinely interested in somebody else and you ask lots of questions and you open body language, maintain eye contact, lean forward and actively listen. And just quickly, the actively listening is not talking, it's just nodding your head, really, wow, tell me more. If you do that in your conversations, is it possible that people will believe that you are interested in them because you're showing all the signs that you are? And if you want to build relationships quickly, is it about talking about yourself? I have done, I am, I'm so good at, you should like me because, versus tell me about you, tell me about that, why is that important to you, and be genuinely interested. So is it about being interesting or interested? Please choose interested, which is asking questions and being genuinely interested in the answers. And then if you don't want to be boring, let's not talk about boring things. If you don't want to be boring, and here's a great question, are people more likely to want to talk about themselves or listen to you talk about yourself? If you constantly, and I'm sure you've been in conversations like that where the people or the person just keeps talking about themselves, and you get really bored really quickly. It's quite tiring to listen to other people talk about themselves. So if they are, or if you are genuinely interested in another person, then you'll ask the right questions, aim to add value, and not talk about yourself. Doesn't it? It makes it really easy, doesn't it? And the last part is, I think it's something, it's just a special thing that I've noticed as I've become older, and I'm a very old lady now. I love sharing that because I've been on the planet a long time. It's very interesting to watch how things change. Being complimentary and being passionate and being excited seems to have been lost. So if you, and look, I might not be interested in somebody's tractor, or I might not be interested in somebody's, because I don't want to buy a tractor, or I might not be interested in somebody's new pair of shoes because they're not my pair of shoes, or I might not be interested in the fact that somebody's got a new job because I don't know them very well. But they are very excited about that. So if I want to add value to their life, wouldn't it be nice that if somebody shares with you, I've just bought a new tractor, rather than saying, oh, that's, and just not being excited, show a bit of passion. Be excited that somebody's got something exciting going on in their life. Are they more likely to feel connected to you if you're passionate about it? The second part is compliments and praise. It seems that they seem lost. And I was taught this a very long time ago, and it's been a major asset to my life. It's added very much value to my life. That I remove the filter of compliments. So if I think something that's complimentary, I say it. I don't keep it to myself. If somebody's beautiful, I tell them. If somebody's got nice biceps, I tell them. If somebody's got a beautiful garden, I tell them. If somebody's has just driven up to my house in a beautiful car, I say, wow, what a gorgeous car. I've removed the filter of should I say this when it's a compliment. Obviously, I don't want to say anything nasty to people. I don't want to devalue from people's life by being disrespectful. So I always ask myself before I say something, will this add value? But if it's a compliment or if it's praise, I don't even think about it. I just say, wow, you're beautiful. You are so intelligent. This is a gorgeous meal. You've got a beautiful home. When you go and visit somebody's home, if you want to add value to the person, give them huge compliments about all the things that you find in their home to be beautiful or awesome. Don't tell lies and don't bullshit. That's called flattery. So if you don't like it, don't say that you like it. But you could say that is amazing, or that is something I've never seen before, because that would be true if you haven't seen it before. Or even if you don't like it, if it's big and different and unique to something that you've seen before, it would be amazing. So you could say that. People love to be praised and people love to be complimented. It's a basic human need. So why do we seem so hesitant in doing it? And it seems that in some countries, in some cultures, it seems even less and less appropriate. And I think it's really sad because I've travelled the world. I've been to lots and lots of countries. It doesn't matter where I go, I have removed my filter from praise. And I watch people's faces change when I say, wow, you're so beautiful, or wow, you've got a beautiful pair of shoes, or thank you so much for this beautiful meal that you've cooked, or wow, your knowledge about wine is amazing, or compliments and praise add value to people's lives because it's a basic human need. So if you want to be a great communicator, be interested rather than try to be interesting. Add value to people's lives rather than detract value. And what about adding praise and compliments? If you see something you like, say that you like it. If you don't like it, don't say. But if you think that it might add value to somebody's life, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? And if you keep that underlying human nature fact in mind, that we all need acknowledgement and praise because it's all part of being a human, and we thrive from acknowledgement and praise, wouldn't it be nice to give more of it? If you want to be a great communicator, how about be interested rather than interesting? And you could add some value to people's lives, and wouldn't that be awesome? So they too could live their life to the max. Super duper doo, how are you? Living my life to the max. Because I love getting praise and compliments. It's bloody awesome.